You talk to a lot of guys about their hair loss and about getting hair transplants on a very personal basis, like one-to-one conversations. So I was curious, what are the most common misconceptions that guys call you with when it comes to their hair loss? And then also separately, when it comes to hair transplants, when they call you and they go, "Hey, Matt, great to talk to you. Here's what I'm thinking." And you have to sort of tell them, okay, that's you're kind of going about this a little bit wrong if you want the most chance of success for your hair. What are those kind of things that most guys come to you with that you have to sort of steer them in a different direction?
Well, first of all, let's start with the hair loss part of the question. So here would be some main misconceptions guys have on hair loss. Well, that was also something that I used to have, and that's simply the temptation to try any other treatment on the market but finasteride. Well, so pretty much guys think that they can just replace a hair loss stimulant like minoxidil with something that is gonna stop your hair loss or slow down the hair loss and target the DHT, inhibit the 5-alpha reductase conversion from testosterone to DHT. And they just think that they can just stay on minoxidil and not touch finasteride because that's something that causes side effects. Minoxidil is not really known for side effects as such, maybe drying out your scalp or causing some itchiness, but that may go away. But finasteride is the hormonal drug, something that alters your hormones. Some guy from Germany actually messaged me a couple days ago, and he was like, whether I think that finasteride is like PED, like performance enhancing drug, because it like alters your hormones. And I was like, no, of course not. But many guys have like a really like big aversion against finasteride still, and that's something I used to have as well. And I'm on finasteride already. I first started with topical finasteride, then continued with oral finasteride, but I really have to explain them how it's not really possible to just stick to minoxidil for years and years and years, maybe get a transplant and still manage your hair loss after your hair transplant with minoxidil only. Why it's a pretty risky strategy if you are just focusing on like stimulating new growth. That's completely fine, but you're not focusing on like stopping the further loss. And these are two different pathways that you have to be focusing on if you want to get a hair transplant, but of course after the transplant as well. You have to be familiar with these different pathways. You cannot just research online like on different things like rosemary oil, like different natural remedies that maybe promote the circulation on the scalp and all of these things. Like maybe they promote the hair growth, or they can stimulate some hair growth, but they are not as effective in stopping the hair loss, stopping the future hair loss. And that's very important, not to kind of to make the distinction in the first place between the hair loss stimulant and something that stops or slows down the hair loss and targets the androgen side of hair loss. That's why we know it as androgenic or androgenetic alopecia. There is no other way around it but targeting the androgenic side of that. Okay, so that would be like the main misconception that many guys still don't understand. I think it was like 2 days ago when I was kind of reviewing my applications for my hair transplant strategy sessions that I've been doing for over a year right now, and there were like 1,250 guys, out of which 50% kind of I make them ask some questions before they apply to the consultation, and 50% of guys, or close to 50%, said that they're not managing their hair loss in any way, but they're seriously considering a hair transplant, which is pretty alarming to me. Maybe it was possible maybe 10 years ago where there wasn't so much hair transplant or hair loss education online, YouTube, Instagram, but with what there is out there nowadays, I really wonder how people cannot kind of find this out or comprehend that it's really important to know about this and practice that already before you even consider hair transplant seriously.
I've watched your videos and how you tried all these different natural remedies, and you just kind of the same way that I did, and went online and read different websites that were selling different pills and things that they claimed would help with your hair loss, and shampoos and all this, and none of it helped. And we both just spent a lot of wasted money taking a lot of pills that I have no idea what was even in them.
Problem is that you are wasting your time. You're losing your time when your diffusely thinning it's getting worse and worse because of that, because of inaction. You think you're doing something, but it's just like inaction, which is uneducated inaction, unfortunately, and you are not using the things that you should be using, like FDA approved stuff, things that have some scientific evidence to back up their effectiveness. And this is the problem. You know, your hair loss is progressing further. And this is something that's been happening to me from 21. When I was 21, I was actually like a Norwood 3, a slow transition to Norwood 4, but almost no diffuse thinning, man. Almost no diffuse thinning on my crown and mid-scalp. However, once I turned like 24, 24 and a half, I had diffuse thinning on the mid-scalp already, okay? And the crown started a little as well. And guess what? Between 21 and 24, what I've been doing, managing my hair loss with things like garlic, onion, apple cider vinegar, and all this BS, okay? I haven't noticed that things were getting like worse, but neither I was noticing that things were improving, okay? So I of course gave up some of these things, you know. I was just using some shampoos with ketoconazole, which I'm still using to this day, but slowly but steadily I started using things like minoxidil and finasteride because it was necessary.